Welcome, fellow seekers of the supernatural, to Not My Ghost.
Not My Problem.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Kelly.
Together, we will explore the supernatural with a few laughs and a shot of skepticism.
So whether you're a skeptic, a true believer, or somewhere in between, buckle up for a journey into the unknown.
Because remember, when it comes to the paranormal, it may not be our problem.
But it's certainly someone's problem.
Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am great. I'm happy to be here recording our first episode.
Yes, it's very exciting.
Yes, I'm super excited. I do want to start with and let our audience know that we have no idea what we're doing.
Not at all.
Nope, not any. Neither of us are professional podcasters. We are figuring this out as we go along, so we apologize. But I promise if you stick with us, it'll only get better because we'll figure it out.
That's right.
Yeah, we're both pretty smart and funny, so at least I like to think so.
That's what I've been told, but yeah. I don't like to brag.
Yeah, right. I know. On our script that we have down for our podcast episode, this is the unscripted banter time. So the first bullet in the unscripted banter is, how did we meet, Kelly?
Well, 14 years ago in August.
Has it really been that long?
That long. I adopted a puppy from a rescue day at the park. And I brought that cute little puppy home, and he was so tiny and very fluffy, and he didn't know what the word no meant, because apparently, and I found this out later, Jen helped me with this, dogs don't speak English. And
common misconception.
Yeah, very common misconception. So I enrolled him into some dog training classes, and Jen was our dog trainer.
Yes, I was. I'm no longer a dog trainer, but I was a dog trainer 14 years ago.
A very good one too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think I was too. I mean, your dog listened really well to me.
To you, yeah. Not so much me.
Yeah, well, what can you do? But no, she brought her dog to, I think you went all the way up through the advanced class.
He did, yeah.
Yeah. I think at some point you just really wanted to hang out with me. I don't think
that's
it
all
had anything to do with your dog.
No.
But then the first time that we actually hung out, like outside of the dog training class, was we had become Facebook friends, and I had put on Facebook that I was bored on like a Sunday with nothing to do. The guy I was dating at the time was working, and Kelly commented saying, "Do you want to go to Bonefish and get a lemon drop martini?" And the reason why she asked if I wanted to go to Bonefish to get a lemon drop martini was because one night she came into the dog training class after having 2 lemon drop martinis.
I was not driving. My husband was with me.
Yes, her husband was with her. She was just a little tipsy. No, I'm being serious. She wasn't drunk, but she was a little tipsy, but very much bragging that she had 2 lemon drop martinis, which is why she was a little tipsy. And I, at the time, who was much younger, had no idea what a lemon drop martini was and thought it sounded good. So I said, "Hey, I would like a lemon drop martini." So that's why she invited me that day.
And we had lemon drop martinis, and they were delicious.
They were delicious. And lemon drop martinis will come up again, I think, later in this episode, right?
Probably so, yes.
Yeah, so you'll hear more about another lemon drop martini adventure we went on.
The adventures of the lemon drop martinis.
After the lemon drop martinis, she invited me back to her house, where her kids basically just like glued themselves to me.
Mm-hmm. And Emily had her hula hoop.
Oh, was that the day of the hula hoop? It was the first day I came over?
Yeah.
Okay, Emily hula hooped for what, like 40 something minutes?
And she was very excited to have you watch all 40 minutes of that.
I did. I watched a 8-year-old at the time. I don't know how old was she. Hula hoop for 40 something minutes. That was my life. It was
And it
great.
was it had the beads in it too. So
Oh yeah, it wasn't the
every
quiet
loop was
hula.
a whoosh, whoosh.
Whoosh for 40 something minutes. For some reason, I came back.
I know. It was the dog. It was really the dog.
Was.
She really did love the dog. Thankfully, I had the dog to keep luring her back until I got her used to being, around me and my very chaotic family with 5 kids.
Yes.
6 really, because we also had, there was a friend of mine who was homeless, and they were struggling to find a place for her and her son. So we had her son live with us, and we did a lot of raising of that child as well. So technically 6 kids.
Yeah. But I didn't really see the 3 boys. They were teenagers and kind of off doing their own thing most of the time.
Yeah.
The 3 girls, however, every time I was there were like glued to
Very
me.
glued.
Right. Okay, so next part of unscripted banter is, why are we both interested in the paranormal? So Kelly, why are you interested in the paranormal?
So I was thinking about this last night, and after my grandmother passed away, I was about 9 years old. And I remember we were at her apartment, and I was sitting in the living room. It was like 2:00 in the morning. And I woke up, and I was, for whatever reason, changing my Cabbage Patch Kids clothes to date myself just a tiny bit.
He's a little older than me. I just want to point that out.
Just a little.
Just a little bit.
That's okay. You're getting older every day too.
I didn't. So are you. I didn't have Cabbage Patch dolls. I had Beanie Babies.
That's because you didn't come from the cool generation.
I had a Furby.
Okay.
Come on. The thing that like creeped you out in the middle of the night because it started talking from your closet. Yeah. That's where those things were possessed.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry. Go on about your Cabbage Patch dolls.
Oh, well, really, I was looking at this picture of my grandmother, and I just remember thinking she's speaking to me. And I was a kid. I don't know. That's all I remember, is being a little freaked out, but then also a little like intrigued and comforted, because I was sure looking at her that she was like speaking to me through this picture. And that's kind of where I think some fascination started. And then I watched, okay, so I grew up, my generation is Generation X. We didn't have like parents. Like, they had to, like, on the TV at 10:00 in the evening, somebody had to come onto the TV and say, it's 10:00. Do you know where your children are? And most of the time, the answer to that question was no. So when I was young, I watched Poltergeist. I'm not sure what year that came out. I'm thinking probably like 84 to 86, maybe 82. I don't know. But I watched that. And then I remember watching The Entity.
I remember that
My
one.
mother was watching it, and I snuck out of my bedroom and I sat on the floor in the hallway and watched the movie. And it was terrifying. But all of that, I had such an interest and an intrigue, and just felt so drawn to the paranormal, to the other side, to what could be going on after this life, if anything at all. And I just always remember having a fascination for it.
So my dad let me watch The Exorcism when I was like
Exorcist?
7 or 8. Yeah, that one, The Exorcist. Let me watch The Exorcist when I was like 7 or 8. And my mom I wanted to watch it so bad. And my mom was like, you're not going to like it, Jen. You're not going to like it. And I didn't like it.
I have a funny story about that. That movie came out in the theaters in either 73 or 74. My mother was pregnant with me, and she wanted to go see it. And my grandmother would not let her. She was like, you're not going to go see that movie until the baby's born. You're not going to go see that movie until the baby's born. Because my grandmother was so afraid that it was going to freak my mother out, that it would harm me. It would harm the pregnancy. It's like,
Okay.
okay, I don't know that that's how
Okay.
movies work, but
No, I don't think so, but I get it. But anyway, for me, why I think I got interested into the paranormal, I grew up with, my parents, and we went camping a ton, like in the summer. And whenever the weather was nice, we would go like every weekend. We always would sit around and tell ghost stories. And I have a lot of family members that have like weird paranormal experiences. So I think I was always really fascinated by that. Yeah, I think just that. We always go to the graveyard at night and walk around the graveyard. And of course, my dad would try to scare us all. But, I think that just kind of always sparked my interest. But I will say my first like actual experience and sighting wasn't until I was an adult. And it happened at your house, Kelly, your old house.
yeah, my old house may or may not have.
Yeah, it may have had a ghost or
Several, maybe.
possibly. Yeah, I don't know. We might talk about it at some point.
Maybe.
We'll see.
I have a funny story about like my dad as well. Like, so when my grandmother passed away, like I said, I think I was around 9 years old. And I think it was like the year after that, my dad said he was sitting in the living room of our house in the middle of the night. He was up, couldn't sleep. And the whole room filled up with bright white light. And he saw his mother and a little boy. Now, my grandmother, her first child, passed away at birth. So he saw his mom with a little boy just in the living room of our house. And he talked about it constantly. And the thing is, was that really an experience? I don't know, because he was also quite the alcoholic. And sometimes he believed, said, and saw things that just weren't within the realm of reality.
That makes sense. Anyway, so what can people expect from this podcast? We're basically going to talk about everything paranormal and pretty much anything else we want to talk about, because it's our podcast and we can do whatever the fuck we want.
That's right. We are grown women.
Grown women. And we're going to do what we want.
That's right.
But yeah, I think that's enough unscripted banter. Give people a little insight onto who we are. But let's get into the spooks.
I think that we should definitely call that segment the unscripted banter, the scripted unscripted banter.
Yeah, scripted unscripted banter.
Yeah. So you can look forward to that every week.
Every week, you're going to learn a little bit more about us every week and what's going on in our life, because we're pretty cool people. Yeah, Kelly, do you want to introduce your episode and what we're going to be talking about today?
So today we're going to talk about the haunted pubs of Fells Point, Maryland. So when we were thinking about where to start with our podcast, we figured since we're both from the Baltimore area would be perfect for our first podcast. So there are so many different stories and legends from the area. The place I hear about the most when it comes to ghosts is in Fells Point. Jen, I believe you have some random facts about Baltimore.
I do. So yeah, this is another thing I think we're going to do each episode, where we just kind of come up with some fun facts and then some spooky facts about whatever we're talking about. Baltimore it's where Francis Scott Key wrote the U.S. national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, during the War of 1812. And I'm sure most of you now know that Francis Scott Key also had a bridge named after him called the Key Bridge, which recently collapsed in Baltimore when a shipping container truck hit the
One
bridge.
of them water trucks.
A water truck. A shipping ship hit the bridge and it collapsed, which for two people who are from the area, absolutely devastating. It's been months and I still don't think I'm over it.
I still find myself not believing that it's gone, because it was such a part of our lives.
Yeah, I don't live in Maryland anymore. So for me, it's like really weird because I haven't been back to like see it. Like I just have, I grew up in Glen Burnie, which is where I met Kelly. So literally to go see my family, we had to drive over the bridge. And I have been over that bridge more times than I can count. And the fact that it's gone is just insane.
My entire family, my mom's side and my dad's side, lived over in the Dundalk, Essex area. And we moved over to Glen Burnie. And I grew up in like Glen Burnie and then Pasadena. I think I was 2 when we moved over to the other side of that bridge. So every holiday, every time we'd go see cousins or any family event, it was back and forth over that bridge.
Yeah, it's insane.
And it's crazy how emotional it was when that bridge fell.
But anyway, then another fun fact is Baltimore is known as Charm City, and has a rich history and a vibrant culture, and a very lively art scene. And if you know anything about Baltimore, you probably know that we are very famous for our crabs, which is the thing I miss the most.
Well, we are having my youngest is just graduated from high school, so we are having her graduation dinner on the 23rd. So if you would like to just fly out just for the day, and we're getting crabs for that dinner, so you can just fly out
I
for the
hate you
day.
a little bit. I know my cousin's in Maryland visiting, and she sent a picture earlier today of a bowl of cream of crab soup.
Oh,
And I just
the
texted
best.
her back and was like, I hate you. And then she's like, I'm getting crabs tonight. And I'm like, fuck you. No, I'm kidding. I love you, but fuck you. I miss crabs. And then the other fact that I did not know, the first umbrella factory in the United States was established in Baltimore in 1828.
Umbrellas are important. That's pretty cool.
Now, scary facts. Some of you may know that Baltimore is the final resting place of Edgar Allan Poe, who mysteriously died in 1849, and his death still remains unsolved to this day.
That's right.
That might be a future episode. And now I will say it's so funny because as much as I love the paranormal and the fact that I lived the first 33 years of my life in Maryland, I never visited Edgar Allan Poe's grave.
Neither have I. So we're definitely going to have to go do that.
Yes, we will. We'll have to visit. We'll have to make sure that we visit his grave before we do his episode so we can talk more about it, because that'll be super cool. Another scary fact is the USS Constellation, which is a historic naval ship that is docked in Baltimore's Inner Harbor, aka the only nice place. No, I'm kidding. Not the only nice place. One of the few nice places in Baltimore. It is thought to be haunted. Visitors and staff have reported hearing eerie footsteps, voices. That I know it's been featured on Ghost Hunters, so that's probably something else we'll hit in the future about Baltimore. But that just lives in the Inner Harbor, which is super cool. So I've seen that a bunch. And then a less paranormal fact and more real life scary fact is Baltimore has consistently ranked among the most dangerous cities in the US, with a high rate of violent crime, adding an element of real life fear to its streets, along with the paranormal.
Very real fear. Yes.
Very, very real fear. So as you're walking down the historic streets of Baltimore, you could be scared of ghosts, or you could be scared of getting shot.
Just depends on what street, what block.
Exactly. I will say, for anybody who has watched The Wire, yes, that's
yes.
it. Yes. Yes.
Yes.
If you were wondering,
absolutely, yes.
Baltimore really yes.
Fells Point also, it's played a pretty important role throughout American history. George Washington's army received supplies and gunpowder that was smuggled in through Fells Point. Now, Fells Point is an area, it's right on the harbor. So it's a port where, people would, by boat, would bring supplies in. So they would smuggle a lot of the stuff that the army needed through different shipments that would come in that would then go to George Washington's army. It also survived the Navy barrage during the War of 1812. And it is also where we saw the first casualties of the Civil War. So there's a lot of history in this area.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Like I said, when I was thinking about where to start with an episode about Baltimore. I hear so much about Fells Point, and I had so much fun reading these stories and researching more to find out what people have experienced. The only thing I wish is that I would have been able to contact some of these people and ask some follow-up questions because I was fascinated. Now, the first story we're going to talk about is at the Cat's Eye Pub. Now,
Real quick before you tell her story, I just want to let our listeners know that, Fells Point, while it was like this harbor and shipping place and all that back in the day, it is now a bar town.
yes,
Basically, like it consists of bars and restaurants, and there's a very lively night scene. So yeah.
Okay. So we're going to start with the Cat's Eye Pub. And this story, the first story from the Cat's Eye Pub, is my favorite just because it went in a direction I didn't expect. In 1990, a woman named Julia went to the Cat's Eye Pub for the first time. After walking up the uneven brick steps to the door, she walked inside and immediately stopped in her tracks, as lying on the ground right inside the door were two bodies, a man and a woman, completely still, locked in each other's arms.
Dead bodies?
Well, there were only three options. They were either making out on the floor, were unconscious from too much alcohol, it is a pub, or dead.
I mean, all three seem like pretty good options considering it's in Baltimore.
So she wasn't really sure what to do, but she noticed nobody else in the bar seemed to be paying any mind to these two bodies, not even noticing them. After getting some weird looks, she decided to just step right over the bodies and proceed over to the bar.
I just want to know how you walk into a bar and just step over two bodies. Like, had she been at other bars? Was this like the fourth bar on her night?
It does not specify. I'm telling you, I wish I had Julia's number because I would like to know.
How do you just walk over dead bodies, or possibly dead bodies, or any bodies, without like some?
Hey, do you need a help? Do you need a hand? So
what's going on here?
When I tell you that I was expecting her to say that she turned around and the bodies were gone, they had just vanished into thin air. But no, she was talking to the bartender and she looked over and saw these two people suddenly just stand up and stumble out of the bar. Nobody in the bar did anything when these people were lying on the ground, not just the staff, not even the patrons of the bar, not even Julia. She just walked over them. But she was probably thinking, these are not my drunk people.
So they're not my problem.
Exactly.
But they were the bar's problem, and they were the bar's drunk people.
And I hope they didn't drive home.
Yes, hopefully. Yeah, that's a weird one. I think they were ghosts, and I think only she could see them.
Maybe. That's a possibility. We don't know.
No. Yeah.
So other stories that come from this, it just seems like passing out on the floor may have just been the type of things that happened in this building throughout its history.
What year was this?
That was 1990, but it just...
Oh, that was the year I was born.
That's right.
Yay.
I was in 10th grade.
We told you there's a little age gap.
10th grade. The pub was built in the early to mid 19th century, and the row house was originally a shop that had living quarters upstairs. And the living quarters had their own entrance to the bar from like the back street, like maybe the alleyway in the back, where from the front you just walked into the pub. Now, given its proximity to the waterfront, it was a perfect place to put a tavern in there because you had sailors and, whether they be military or just working people that are coming through or supplies or whatever, people would come into the port and then maybe just want to have a couple drinks before they have to set back out to sea.
Yeah, seems like a good idea.
So during the Civil War, the downstairs housed a bar that had small tables for patrons, but upstairs was for the ladies, the working ladies.
Ooh.
Each lady was given her own room to decorate however she wanted. And they tried to set themselves apart from the competition of the other ladies and the way they chose to decorate their room, the lingerie that they chose, the perfume that they wore, or catering to the different fetishes of the men that were interested in the working ladies.
I wonder if there was a kinky room.
Sounds like there might have been. And I say, I respect the hustle, ladies.
Yeah, no, go.
I
You
respect
go.
the hustle.
You do you, boo.
That's right. So you hear different stories, ghost stories from the pub. They vary a bit. There was a young man who had an encounter with a beautiful woman who walked past him. He noticed the way she walked and how her long hair hung down her back and over her shoulders, and how it waved back and forth with each step as her hips waved back and forth.
He wasn't looking at her hair, I can promise you that.
Probably not.
Then you said the hips, and I'm like, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, long hair, so it probably fell right around
Long
the hips.
hair, and then
Yeah.
but I'm looking at the hips.
Yeah. So he smiled at her as she was walking by, and she smiled back at him, holding eye contact the entire time. After walking by him and his friends, she walked out the back door of the bar. He said something to his friends about her, but none of them had noticed her at all, which doesn't seem, if she's a beautiful woman with sway hips and beautiful long hair, you'd think somebody else would have noticed.
Yeah.
A couple of seconds after she walked out the back door, two of his friends walked in through the back door as they were standing right outside the door having a smoke. They didn't see her either. He was the only one she was trying to seduce, apparently.
Maybe he was whatever his kink was, whatever her room was, how her room was set up back in the day. So that's why she was catering to him.
Do you think that ghosts would know what our kinks and sexual preferences are?
Maybe they can read your mind. Or maybe she was just
Can
drawn
they
to
read your
him.
mind?
I don't know.
I mean, if they're invisible, I guess in theory they could just watch whatever your kinks are
That's true.
as your kinks are being played out. I don't know.
Maybe the way he was dressed said something that made her think. I don't know. It's interesting.
Maybe he was in a union.
Yeah, maybe.
Like union uniform. So the sound, they also say that you can hear the sounds of footprints like upstairs when nobody's up there.
You can hear footprints.
Footsteps. Yeah. You can hear footprints. You absolutely can. It depends on how drunk you are. But you might be able to hear the footprints.
After several drinks.
Footprints and water trucks.
That's what you're getting from us.
That's right. Footprints and water trucks. It's
going to be our first t-shirt when we start selling merch. Footprints and water trucks.
They say that you can hear the laughter of women, that you can hear from behind the bar. And when there are no women around, people have reported seeing women in low-cut, lacy outfits looking out the windows from the rooms upstairs that face the storefront or the street. So I was wondering, it's possible that they could have had lacy curtains in those windows.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it may be so there was some wind or something that moved them, and it maybe looked like some kind of an outline of a person.
And if a shadow is someone's walking by, it could cast a shadow, which makes it look like a person and lace and yeah.
Yeah, you just never know. But the rooms upstairs where the brothel was, they will have doors that will open and close on their own.
Which old building drafts.
Old buildings, don't know.
Could be a thing.
They say that you can hear men and women laughing and whispering upstairs. Now, the whispering, I think, that could really be anything.
Sound travel.
Sometimes you can hear static and you think that you hear a whisper in the static, or just the regular sounds of the bar, you really don't
And the bars
know.
they're all close
The
together and
laughter,
everything too. So like it could travel from right.
one bar right
Yeah.
through the wall of one bar
Yeah.
to the next. You
Or from
just don't.
outside, there could be a cracked window and someone doesn't realize it. Trust me. Like I said, I've
Right.
been to Fells Point at night. Um, it
Hmm.
gets a little crazy. So you don't know where those noises are coming from. I thought when you said people were saying they could hear men and women from upstairs, I thought you were going to say like having sex. They could hear them having sex.
That would be
That would
so
be
cool.
amazing.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
They're
Just go
getting it
hear
on in
some,
the
like, get a drink and
afterlife.
go hear some ghost
Yes.
sex. Honestly, like, that would give me hope that the afterlife is going to be pretty
Right?
freaking cool.
They're still getting it on in the
Right.
afterlife. Having a
Right.
good time.
Yeah. So, one thing I thought was interesting is they had a report of clocks that would just turn themselves back a couple of hours. Like, it would say it was 7 p.m. and just, an hour and a half later, they would look at the clock and it would say 5 o'clock instead of 7. And it doesn't specify if they were digital clocks or if I can't think of the name of the other clocks. What is wrong with
Analog?
me? There, thank you. Thank you. You guys will have to excuse me. I've had about a quarter of a glass of wine and I am a lightweight, although I don't think you'll believe me in a minute, but I
Yeah.
am.
She didn't used to be. We'll talk about that later. I've had, I don't know, but this was a really full glass of wine. So I think I've had
It was. I
about
saw it.
3/4 of it, which is probably like 2 actual glasses if you get it at a restaurant.
And you're fine, I'm sure. They do say sometimes they can see some shadows lurking in the corners of the rooms, but again, shadows are funny. Like, you would have to be able to identify the light source right away and where everybody else in the bar was and if there were. So it is reported, however, that it is haunted by a man named Kenny Orr. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Orye.
Okay. That sounds about right. Or,
Okay.
yeah.
So he used to own the building and he loved the harmonica. His picture is hung on the wall in the pub. In December of 1987, several bartenders started reporting hearing a harmonica playing and then found an antique harmonica behind the bar one
Ooh.
evening that's never been there before. Now, somebody could be messing with you. You don't know. They've also said that sometimes buckets or bottles and glasses will slide off of the shelves in the bar for no apparent reason. I don't know. Maybe there was vibration. Maybe the bar was a little wet and the glass
Yes,
slid
I remember
easier.
one time I saw something at Instagram, or I don't remember where I saw it, but where people were doing like an experiment with like how much water needed to be there for like the glass to like slide on its own. So it was really cool kind of seeing
Yeah.
that because someone would set it down. It didn't happen right away. It wasn't like you set it down and it slid. It was like you set it down and it might like slowly move over time. And then depending on how much water, like it moved a little quicker. And it was really cool to watch. So that's a possibility.
Yeah. So there is one report of Kenny's picture falling off the wall and hitting someone in the head as he was negatively speaking about
Don't
Kenny.
talk smack about Kenny. Come on.
Right. So that
Yeah,
part,
that's I
ghost.
have
Yeah.
no skeptic on that one. That's ghost. Kenny's coming back from the afterlife and he's like, bitch,
That's right.
shut up. Don't be talking about me.
You talk shit about me when I'm dead. Guess
Like,
what?
I'm gonna hit
Guess
you with
what?
my own photo.
I'll bring
Yeah.
my photo to your house
My
and
photo
hit
will
you
just
with
show
it.
up at your door floating and it'll ring the doorbell and then you'll open the door and it'll just start beating you over the head.
So that sounds like really a great place to go if you wanted to maybe try to experience something.
Yeah, I've never been there. It sounds cool.
I've never been there either. So, Jen, do you remember when we went to see my friend Jason's band play?
I remember parts of it.
Parts of it. I remember parts of it
I don't
as
remember the
well.
whole thing. It's a little fuzzy.
Why is it a little fuzzy, Jen?
Because as we may have mentioned in earlier episodes, this is our first episode. Earlier in the
Jen.
episode, I swear I've only had a little more than a half a glass of wine. I'm still okay. We like lemon drop martinis. The bar had lemon drop martinis.
He
and
did.
we drank some.
Some. How many sums did we drink?
8.
A piece. 8 lemon drop martinis
And Kelly says
a
she's a lightweight.
piece.
She wasn't back then.
I was really, really drunk.
I remember at some point in the evening, because again, I was young and working at PetSmart as a dog trainer and wasn't making a ton of money. And I looked at Kelly, pretty intoxicated already. And we probably had about 3 or 4 lemon drop martinis at this point. And I was like, I can't afford to drink anymore. And then she pulled this big wad of cash out of her bra and was like, I got you. Yep.
I got you, boo.
Mm-hmm.
I got my boob money. My
It
boob money
did.
paid for
All those
all the
martinis were
martinis.
paid for by boob money.
I cannot even fathom drinking that many lemon drop martinis now.
No,
But we certainly had 8 of them
a piece.
a piece. When we were not driving, we had a designated driver who was with us. And as we were leaving the bar, I asked our waiter if I could have a glass of water. And they brought me an entire pitcher
To take home.
to take home of water.
Didn't you tell the waiter that I wasn't 21? Because he didn't. Yes, you
No,
did. You don't remember that?
I don't
You
remember
told.
that. You
No,
were
I was.
21.
I was like 23 or 4. I don't know. I was over 21. But you told the
Yeah.
waiter at one point because he didn't card me when we first like ordered, and you told him that I wasn't 21, and then he like freaked out that I served
Oh, I
somebody
don't
8
remember
lemon
that,
drop
but
martinis, and then you were like, "I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding." She's like 24.
it sounds like the kind of asshole thing I would do to someone, though.
That's why we said we remember parts of the evening. It's all a bit fuzzy.
Parts of the evening. That's right. When we got home, my friend Michelle dropped us off. And when we walked in the house, my husband said that we reminded him of SpongeBob and Patrick at the Goofy Goober bar in the movie.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And then because
Sounds
your
about right.
son was not there that night, he was off somewhere, and I was sleeping in his room. And I remember as I was laying down, your husband comes in and hands me pills and water. And, my drunk ass was like, oh, okay. Didn't even ask what I was taking. It was Advil.
It was
wasn't
Advil.
anything.
It was
Fine.
Advil,
He wasn't
people.
drugging me.
He was just concerned about her hangover the next day. He's
was
a
a
good guy.
nasty one, even with the Advil.
Yes, it was. Did you have to work the next day?
I did. I had to work like early at like 7 a.m.
I woke up at 5 p.m. the next day.
Yeah, I remember going into work the next day because at this point I was in Petco in Annapolis, so which is a good half-hour drive from your house, and so I had to drive. And at this point, like, I may still have been drunk. I don't know. We slept several hours, but it was early and I was really hungover. And I remember I only had one dog training class that day, but it was at like 9 a.m. Like it was like the first part of the day. And I remember it was only one dog. So I was like, I'm going to cut this short because right as he came in, the stomach issues start to happen that you get when you
Right.
drink the next
Mhm.
day. And as I'm training, I'm like feeling it coming on, and I'm like, "Hey, this is going to be a really short class. This is going to be a really short class because I have to go to the bathroom." And then I left, and yeah, after I did that, yeah, I felt a little better. Oh, and then I remember my other friend who is my other bestie, who lives in Orlando now. Kristen, she was working at Petco. That's how we met. She actually, I was like hungry, needed to eat because I was nauseous. And she went and got like Pop-Tarts out of her car to feed me.
Kristen's a lamb.
So thank you, Kristen. I don't even know if you remember that, but you did that for me.
Thank you for taking care of Jen after I got her really, really, really drunk.
And sent me to work the next day.
I'm the bad influence. Kristen is the good influence.
Yes. I always joke Kelly is the devil on my shoulder and Kristen is the angel on my shoulder. So whenever I have a question or like, what should I do? I snap them both. And Kelly, I usually listen to Kelly because she snaps me back quicker. Kristen is busier and takes a little bit longer.
Kristen's probably like, don't do that. And I'm like, do it.
Do it.
You only live once. Do it. Okay. So Jason, as you know, has a band and they play many shows, gigs, whatever you want to call them, in Fells Point. I asked him if he had ever had any paranormal experiences while he was there. And he said he had a couple that unexplained things, I guess. He didn't necessarily categorize it as paranormal. But he said that a few years ago, he was playing a show at the Waterfront Hotel bar. And as he was singing into the microphone, he felt someone tap him on the shoulder. And he thought that his drummer had leaned forward and tapped him with his drumstick to get his attention for something. But his drummer did not do that. I don't know what that could be. Maybe somebody tapped him on the shoulder.
That's very rude if it was a ghost while he was singing.
I know.
Like, throw
Have
him
some
off his
manners.
game.
Maybe they
Right, at
didn't like
least
the
wait.
song.
Right, at least wait until like the band is playing and like he's not or like in between. Maybe they didn't like the song and they were just like, excuse me, can you play a different type of music for me?
Freebird.
Freebird.
So I don't know what that could be. It's possible that like his shirt was like bunched up or something, or a cord to some of the equipment like kind of like pulled down on his shirt and it made it feel like somebody was like tapping him or something. You just never know.
Yeah.
But they did say a couple weeks after that, he kept feeling water dripping on him from the ceiling. And he kept looking up at the ceiling to try to figure out where this water was coming from. And he didn't see anything. So he went over to the bar and asked the bartender if there were water droplets on his back. And the bartender said no. So I don't know what that could be. But he definitely said it definitely felt like if water was dripping, how it would like hit.
Yeah, that's a pretty distinct feeling too.
Yeah. So we don't really know what was going on with that either. But Jason told me about the bar Dubas. And I found this, he told me a little bit about it, and I found it so fascinating. I wanted to do a little bit more research to get more of the story about Dubas. So Dubas also had rooms. Dubas is a bar, same, but it also had rooms above the bar that you could rent. And there was a man named Doc that rented one of those rooms, and everybody loved him. He just had one thing about him that drove people crazy. There was a jukebox on the wall in the bar. This was a long time ago, so it actually had 45s in them. So if you are not a dinosaur like I am, a 45, if you think of your favorite album on vinyl, is just smaller with one song on each side of it. That's what a 45 is. So Doc loved polka music. And there was one 45 in there that had polka music on it. And Doc played it over and over again.
Polka, polka, polka.
When Doc passed away in 1980, they had a ceremony to honor him, and they removed that 45 from the jukebox. I guess their theory was Doc was the last person to play this, and we want him to be the last person to play it. So we are going to remove it from the jukebox as like a ceremonial honor thing towards him. And I also think they just didn't want anybody else playing the 45.
That's what I was about to say. They're like, this is really annoying and we never want to fucking hear this again in my life. So I'm going to remove it and pretend like I'm honoring somebody.
Exactly. But much to the surprise of the customers and the staff, that song would still play even though the 45 was removed.
Oh, wow. What?
Then a couple years after that, they completely removed the jukebox out of the bar. It's no longer in the bar, but to this day, they still hear that polka music playing throughout the bar.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have an explanation for that one.
Somebody could be messing with them, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, short of somebody like faking it, but otherwise that's Doc. That's Doc coming back.
Right. I would think so.
Yeah. You're going to listen to my polka music, whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. I don't care what year it is.
Yeah, polka.
It's polka music. So we're going to move on to Max's Tap House.
Oh, I've been there.
Have you? Did you like it?
I have. Yes. That was where me and my friend Kristen used to go when we went to Fells Point, and we went because they had pulled pork tater tots and they were so good. Oh my God. Those pulled
Sounds
pork tots.
good. I might have to make pulled pork tater tots for dinner one night.
The best drunk food like that you could have.
All right.
So yeah, I've been there a couple of times. It's great.
So when you come in town, If you want to do it on the 20, like for the 23rd, you can come in on the 22nd before the graduation cookout, and we can go do like a pub crawl of all the haunted pubs that we're talking about tonight, and we can go get some. Bring Kristen, by the way, she can come. She's invited.
She's invited, yeah.
I'll get some pulled pork tater tots, and then we'll just tell everybody in the family that she's a cousin that they've just never met before at the graduation cookout and dinner.
Long lost cousin.
Right.
Yeah, great.
So, okay, so Max's Tap House was constructed between 1870 and 1910. The owner, Ron, has always been very skeptical about the paranormal. One night, though, he was surprised when an employee came running out of the basement, hysterical and crying about decapitated chickens running around in the basement.
Hold on. Did you say decapitated chickens?
Yes, decapitated chickens.
Okay, so out of everything that could have come out of your mouth, decapitated chickens was probably last on my list of things I would have expected you to say. Like bottom of the list.
Bottom of the list, yeah.
You're talking about a bar and ghost, and you say decapitated chicken. She comes up running, crying from something. I'm like, she saw a ghost or a demon, Bigfoot. I don't know, maybe Bigfoot was in the basement.
Bigfoot is just hanging out in the basement of bars in Fells Point.
That would be more believable than decapitated chickens.
Yeah, decapitated chickens. So I'm assuming he thought that she was under the influence of something. It was a bar. It is Baltimore. God only knows what this person could have been under the influence of.
That's fair, but I've never heard someone drunk talk about decapitated chickens before.
Right, but I think if somebody came in and told me that they saw decapitated chickens running around my house, I wouldn't necessarily go, oh, ghost decapitated chickens.
No, I wouldn't think. My first thing would be like, let's go to the basement to look. Maybe
for the decapitated chickens.
Maybe it's a prank. Maybe somebody decided they wanted to just leave their decapitated chickens in my basement. I would not immediately think they were paranormal and be like, oh, it's fine. You didn't really.
It's just the ghost decapitated chicken.
I would be like, no, we need to go down and check what is happening in my basement.
Would think, right? It doesn't say that he went down to check, but he was very dismissive about it.
How do you dismiss decapitated chickens?
Well, I guess he figured he didn't have chickens in his bar. It is a weird thing to hear somebody say.
It is, but
there's all he really said is there's no chickens in the building.
There's no chickens in the building.
Without coming down to check.
Not my chickens, not my problem.
But again, it would be really weird to have somebody say they saw decapitated chickens.
I would have to go in the basement to check again.
Absolutely.
10 out of 10. No one can tell me they saw decapitated chickens running around my basement. And there is no world, no dimension, no parallel universe that I would not immediately run down my basement, assuming that there were decapitated chickens.
Right. So if our first merch is going to be, what was it? Boat trucks and footprints. What should our second be?
Decapitated chickens, literally just a t-shirt with a decapitated chicken running around.
No explanation at all.
No explanation, nothing.
Name of the podcast on the back.
Yes. And just a decapitated chicken, maybe multiple. We're just running around to create the chaos. Because just one doesn't seem very chaotic.
And then one crying, hysterical girl.
Yeah.
Maybe in the corner. Yeah. No, I don't know. I kind of like just the chickens.
I like just the chickens. We're ignoring the girl. She's no longer a part of this story. It's just the decapitated chickens. So look forward to that when we get merch.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll happen.
So that experience did stick with him, obviously. It's not every day somebody thinks that they saw decapitated chickens.
It didn't stick with him enough to go check the basement for decapitated chickens.
Doesn't say anything about him going to check. So 23 years later, he found out that the building that he owns now used to be a store and a butcher shop, and chickens were routinely slaughtered in the basement.
That explains it.
They were ghost chickens.
Ghost decapitated chickens.
So I wonder, like, you hear about ghosts and stuff, and usually you think of like a soul that is unfinished business, I don't know, visiting a loved one or something. I did not necessarily.
I think about this as residual energy.
You think that like even animals can be residual like that?
Well, when they die in a traumatic way, like being decapitated, that was very traumatic for them. I mean, I know that's how most chickens probably die because that's what they have to do to make them
We could
food.
be
But
surrounded by decapitated ghost chickens right now and not even
we
know it.
could be. And maybe we just don't have the energy to see it.
Right. Man, we need to find that lady that saw them.
No. She probably sees ghost animals all the time.
Speaking of ghost animals, I may or may not have a story of a ghost animal at one point.
Oh, fun. I have one too.
Definitely chickens were slaughtered in that damn basement.
I'm really sad that the many times I have been to Max's that I have not seen a ghost decapitated chicken.
Have you been to the basement?
I haven't. I'm going to have to try to sneak into the basement the next time I go to Max's Tap House. I'm going to go up to the bar after a couple of drinks and I'm going to be like, I heard you had ghost decapitated chickens in your basement. Please show me the chicken.
Yeah, I think that might have to happen.
It will. It will.
So patrons of the tap house also report seeing a man in a dark suit with,
maybe he was the one who slaughtered the chickens.
Maybe, but he just walks like directly into one of the walls. It's like a Harry Potter, like.
See, and I've heard with that is a lot of times a sign of a residual haunt because that wall probably wasn't always there.
Right.
It was probably put up later. So he's walking like a path that he used to walk in life. And now
right into the wall.
It's no longer.
But the dark suit also fits into the history of the area because a lot of the merchants back then were Quakers and they frequently would dress in like dark clothes, dark suits. And they also report seeing a woman in white that just kind of floats around the bar and vanishes into thin air, which kind of the lady in white is.
Yeah, they're reported often. That might be something else we do an episode on in the future. Just all the reports of the ladies in white.
But a lot of people believe that she was just one of the shop girls or a family member of the original owners or something. So that is all of the stories that I have prepared for you tonight. There are so many stories from Fells Point. It's hard to do like an episode about one place because each place has little pieces of things that happen. So like one place wouldn't fill up an episode. But you also, if you could not possibly do all of the places because then it would be way too long of an episode.
Yes. And this is our first episode, so we're not making it a two-parter. But maybe we'll revisit Fells Point in the future. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Right. So the next time you're in town, which should be the 22nd of this month, with Kristen, we are going to go to Max's Tap House. We're going to go to Duba's. We're going to go to Cat's Eye Pub. We're going to get some pulled pork tater tots, and we're going to check out the basement.
And then at 2 a.m, we're going to walk out to the hot dog stand, the pretzel stand, and get a pretzel dog.
Done.
Because that's what you do when you're drunk at 2 a.m. in Fells Point.
Right. And then the next day, we're going to have the cookout or the cookout and graduation dinner for my.
And visit Edgar Allan Poe's grave. Don't forget that.
Right. What
we got to do that.
We'll have to do that before the bars because we don't want to end up like Edgar Allan Poe stumbling out of them late at night.
No.
Dead on the side of the road.
No. Which is a very real possibility in the city of Baltimore.
Yeah. All right. So that is all that we have for the Fells Point.
Yay. Well, that was exciting. I can't get over the decapitated chickens.
It's the best, isn't it?
It is.
The decapitated chickens and then just the two bodies laying on the floor of the bar that nobody notices at all or anything.
Yeah. Or says anything about.
Well, thank you all for joining us, all 4 of you that are probably listening to this. We love you so much on this eerie exploration of the haunted history of Fells Point. Remember, as you walk the historic streets or visit the haunted sites, keep this in mind.
If it's not your ghost,
it's not your problem.
Until next time, stay spooky
and stay skeptical.